I think the genesis was I kept seeing these stories about bizarre animal behavior, like alligators doing weird things in Florida, crocodiles doing weird things in Africa, like imitating dogs to the sound of dogs to lure dogs down to the river. I don't know if you remember, there was a thing where like literally hundreds of fish were jumping into boats in Lake Michigan, and you just go like, what is going on here? And then the notion of turning that into a fable about what man is doing to the earth and how the earth might fight back a little bit. So it's not realism. This couldn't really happen. But, it's like 1984 or Animal Farm or one of those where it's just like, okay, this isn't going to happen, but here's a fable about it. Here's a story. And, I mean, not that this is going to change the world, but I think if you just keep beating at this thing, eventually a generation's going to come up and go, hold it. We can't operate this way. At one point, everybody's smoking, or an awful lot of people, and it takes 20 years for en masse for people to go, we can't do this. You know, I read all the scripts. I look at all the cuts as they come in. I try to, gently, you know, give them, my thinking on the thing. I don't know whether, they just agreed with my notion, but I felt that at the end of the first season, we needed to change it up in terms of surprising people more. So this season, it's kind of like nobody's figured anything out. So every episode, it's like, oh my God, it's not what I thought it was going to be, and surprising people, and you'd want people, at the end of a show the next day to say, oh, did you see what happened on Zoo last night? I mean, ideally anyway. It's like doing chapters in a book or sections in a book. You just, what's going to happen? What's the beginning and the middle and end of that episode, and how does that feed into the next one and feed into the next one, and ultimately where you're going, and a combination of what's driving that episode in terms of plot and what's driving it in terms of the characters and how the characters are growing. I mean, Michael Connelly says about my stuff, Michael Connelly's a mystery writer, and he says what Jim does is every single chapter is designed to move both the characterization and the plot forward every chapter and turn on the movie projector in our heads. And I think that's a good model for television, that every, scene. I mean, we did a series on Women's Murder Club, and I thought it wasn't good. And part of it was, you'd start out, a postal carrier has been murdered. You go, okay. I mean, I'm not hooked so far. Let's go talk to his grandmother. Really? Let's go talk to his uncle. So it was like a procedural on a crime that there was no real hook there, so I'm not really caring enough. I like it better, the second season better than the first season. One piece of it is this notion of surprise every week. You just don't know what to expect. I think that's really cool. I think the characters all deepen. I think what happens to them is surprising. You don't expect that. You don't expect the romances that happen this season. You don't expect the personal relationships, the ups and the downs. You don't expect the different things that happen around the world. So I like surprises. I mean, that's why I like series like, at least the first couple of years of Lost, where it was until they started, really stretching more than I wanted them to. He's great. He's a movie star, and he keeps getting better and better. And I just this year you'll see he just keeps getting better and better and better. He doesn't get a chance in this show to show his comedic side as much, but he's a very good comedian, and the drama side, it just he just keeps improving and stretching, and so he's a really good choice, and I enjoy him. He's a really nice guy too. Well, the reaction is what it always is when there's a tragedy. I mean, it's a very sad thing. It's been happening ever since there've been zoos. I mean, there are always X number of tragedies, or anything else. Since they had highways. I mean, people so you can't shut down highways for sure. I guess zoos you could begin to question a little about what what goes on there. It shouldn't go. Is it good to hold animals captive? Is it a good thing? Is it a bad thing? But I think in terms of just a story, uh, that story in particular just raises the conflict issue, right? What would you do? You've got a small child, however the child might have gotten there, and you have this massive sized. So what are you going to do? What do you? And the gorilla is now thrashing the child around. Maybe that's caused by people screaming. It probably was, but nevertheless, it's happening. So I don't know. I'd have to have been there, and I do think it's difficult when a child is in that much danger to go, oh, okay, well, let's take the gorilla's point of view. I don't know. I don't know the answer.